Hello, beautiful seeker. Welcome back to the Existential Shift. So happy and honored to have you. If you're new, welcome. My name is Morgan. I am an occultist, a spiritual teacher at the Rochi, and an intuitive healer, and all that jazz. Um, this is, as I'm recording this today, is the fall equinox, the autumn equinox, that marks the beginning of the fall. The equinoxes and the solstice are the hinges on which the seasons stand, begin, created, you might want to call it. Actually, in about an hour, the sun will move into 0 degrees Libra, and then it will conjunct actually at 0 degrees Mercury, at 0 degrees Libra. The sun is moving forward, Mercury is retrograding backwards, and they meet in the empty space, in the void between the signs, in this case between Virgo and Libra. It's where order is birthed out of chaos. And in this case, the order that will be birthed out of the chaos of this reset of Libra energy is justice and truth, exposed, blasted, like the beginning of creation, right? In a manner that is possibly to some shocking, out of the ordinary. It will work with Uranus being in Taurus. It will bring forward the truth, one way or another. It will create drama, but it will also create a lot of power. Sorry, one second. The story of the fall equinox is actually supported by the story of Persephone. If you're not familiar from Greek mythology, Persephone was the daughter of Demeter. She was the goddess of harvest and life. And Persephone, when one day she went to roam the earth to pick up her herbs and spices, she was kidnapped by Hades, aka Pluto, into the underworld because Hades fell in love with her. And by becoming the wife partner of Hades, she became the goddess of the underworld. But to make a really long story short, because I don't want to make these messages about that specifically, rather just utilize it to bring forward a point. To make a long story short, the Persephone's mother, Demeter, couldn't take the distance from Persephone, wouldn't accept her kidnap situation, and out of grief, she created nothing so that the world of the living will combine with the world of the dead and she could reunite with her daughter. And then Zeus made a deal with Hades. Hey, we can't let all life on earth die. And so they've reached an agreement in which Persephone will spend half the year in the underworld with Hades, ruling the dead, and half of the year in the above world, in the living, with her mother Demeter, ruling the living. And that was the story of the seasons. And today, technically, on September 22nd, at the fall-autumn equinox, is when it's said that Persephone descends back to the underworld, and that initiates fall and then winter. The word equinox comes from Latin. Equi means equal, and nox means night. It means the night being equal to the day, absolute balance between shadow and light, between the different polarities and the extreme opposing forces of life. And it kind of connects all together to what this Libra season is going to ignite, this specific one. When we, like Persephone, go to the underworld, to the world of taboo, of shadows, of the forbidden by the alleged light, right? Or should I say forbidden by the false light? We trigger a collapse of polarities into oneness. We trigger that process because we rebel against that which tries to tell us that we are one thing, that we are either the sun or the moon, light or dark, pure and moral or sinful and taboo. It's when we stop denying our shadows and when we descend to meet them and rule them is when they cease to control us and become integrated in us as part of our infinite power of yin and yang. It is already seen in the world arena, and I feel like it's going to get even more dramatic and intense as women do what Persephone is doing, and they rise and roar against the false light, like the morality police in the Iranian regime. Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old girl, didn't wear her hijab properly. Her hair was shown. So by that morality police, she was taken into custody, beaten to death, and murdered for not wearing a hijab, which is something that women in Iran are forced to wear. Because everyone in the spiritual community knows this, hair is considered our energy, our power, our femininity, our sensuality. And religious dogma wants to take that from us. And her death, her murder, has sparked incredible protests by women and men in Iran. And they are now burning their hijabs and cutting their hair. I personally will let the hair grow because it's a symbol of your liberation, but as long as it's happening, I'm not gonna go into overly specific. I'm not gonna be petty on the details, right? But this means something for the coming few months, especially considering the eclipses that are happening Scorpio season, the eclipse in Taurus and the eclipse in Scorpio that are conjunct Uranus or in opposition to Uranus. A wave of waking up to truth and to justice in society is going to turn into a tsunami. It is going to take over the world. It is a volatile yet righteous, scary yet so important and inspiring. And it's going to open the Pandora boxes and expose all the demons. And it's definitely going to expose a lot of the false light. Because when Persephone, when you, when people, when women ascend into the underworld of taboo, of forbidden, of alleged evil, and find themselves in there. They find their truth, they find their deepest wounds, find their desires, find their dreams, find their connection to source, and realize it's a shortcut to heaven, and not a bad type of shortcut, rather just a direct path. The only way out is in. We realize the obvious, that because everything is a circle, there is no above and below, there is no above world and underworld. They are one of the same. Two extremes of a line eventually become the same point, because a line is a theoretical invention by the mathematical world, but it doesn't really exist. Every line that you will continue and continue and continue, eventually, because of the nature that is circular and everything, will end in the beginning. There are no lines, just cut off circles. When we realize that our true light is in our dark taboos, we succeed in shedding true light of awareness, of truth, of love, of divinity, of healing. And we break down the false light that is the true darkness. Gaslighting the masses into saying that someone is evil without no proof, without no justification, to deflect from whoever cast that slander, them being actually evil, is the ammo of every villain in history. And I don't know how us as humanity and society, most of people anyway, keep falling for that trap. I made a video about this, about the most dangerous person in the world, 13th Element. Be sure to watch it, because it tells you how and why evil manages to prevail as much as it does. But now, revolutions are upon us. Corrupt, evil gaslighters who have been taking the form of a martyr will be exposed. The true light will shine. And it is a journey of a few years, but the next 3 months, the end of 2022, is going to be a time that we will look back and say, that was ground zero for New Earth. We are now in ground zero. Choose wisely. Do not fall prey for gaslighting and for flattery. Verify the information. Check your facts. Don't glorify symbols of oppression just because someone told you that it means you're a good person. Don't vilify true light just because it's not popular. If the crowd is wise and loving, join it. If the crowd is cowardly and corrupt, run. Be alone as much as it takes until you find your true crowd. And raise your voice with what you know for sure. Because that's how you will be recognized by your people. And that's how your people be recognized by you, if they do the same. Wayne Peak, thank you so much for the super chat of $12. I appreciate you, and it means a lot. Brilliant, thank you. You're welcome. I appreciate that. Namaste. We're drinking pomegranate tea, which is very symbolic. In 2 days from when I'm recording this, it's going to be the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, according to the Hebrew calendar. It's when the year actually starts, not in the Gregorian calendar. It's actually the feminine lunar calendar and approach to, well, time. And it's funny because in the time of Persephone's ascent to the underworld, and what represents her in the tarot is the high priestess. And in high priestess, there's pomegranates because they symbol passion and life. And in Rosh Hashanah, we always eat pomegranates as part of the celebration of the new year to symbolize abundance and wealth and prosperity and fortune and luck and joy. So I love how ancient wisdom is coming through for these messages for you. I'm going to do messages by the zodiac sign for all of you for the coming fall, the next 3 months, Libra season, Scorpio season, and Sagittarius season, until the winter solstice. That will be slightly before Christmas, Saturnella. And we'll see how you're going to take part in this. I'm going to ask for every single one of the signs, what will be the main question? Should I do a general message, whatever comes, or should it be more specific? By the way, be sure to watch Israel's Prime Minister Yair Lapid's speech that he made from when I'm recording this today at the UN. I actually shared it on my community tab, but all you have to do is type in Israel's Prime Minister speech in the UN or Yair Lapid. It sheds a lot of light, true light. I keep feeling like there's a specific question that I should guide the cards to show me for you. If this is the ascent of Persephone to the underworld, if this is our acknowledgement of our taboos, seeing deep inside into hidden truths in ways both inside of us and outside of us, in ways of expanding our consciousness and truly being better, not pretending to be better. What is the fitting question? What is the fitting question? What is your hidden taboo that is divinely guided to come into light? Angus, I saw half so far. That guy is inspiring and cool. Let me tell you something, a story of mine that I'm personal, that I'm very proud of. By the way, if anyone is willing to timestamp this, I would be very grateful. Please include, of course, the intro that speaks about the equinox. But before we start all the signs, speaking of Yair Lapid, the Israeli Prime Minister, 10 years ago, he was known to be a poet and an author and a media personality. He had a talk show. He had a newspaper column, a weekly column, and he wrote books and poetry and a lot of songs in Israel he wrote. And he declared out of the blue that he's running for politics. And most people said he can't do that and he won't be good in politics because he's a poet and a philosopher. And I said, that is exactly why he will succeed. And as soon as he announced it, I decided to drop everything. And before that, I was not into politics.